One of the most infamous combat strategies in this game is a technique known as topple locking. Essentially, this allows you to keep an enemy that isn't immune in a state of being toppled until you defeat them. It's very consistent and works on every single super boss in this game, not to mention most of the other enemies you might be struggling with as well. In this video, I want to cover how to do it and how to effectively use topple locking as a strategy to help you defeat every super boss. As always, you can expect spoilers for the 7th party member in this video, so please be careful about watching. And if you enjoy content like this and want to see future guides on the series, make sure to subscribe to the channel because it really does help out so much. So the first thing we're going to need to do is set ourselves up with proper gems. The armor itself isn't super important, but the gems are going to be very important to ensure we'll be able to attack the super bosses with minimal issues. Now, you can completely ignore the AP up gems I have on everyone, as I only have them to maximize my AP gains, and I actually got them from using topple locking since one of the super bosses is the only enemy who can drop AP up crystals. Outside of that, I would recommend sticking to a party made up of Shulk, Rein, Fiora, and Dunban. Any 3 of these 4 will give you by far the most success with this strategy. Besides that, what you're going to need is agility up on all of your party members you plan to use to make sure you can hit everything. If you don't have your skill links optimized, then you should likely have night vision equipped to ensure you'll have enough accuracy against the higher agility super bosses. Next, you'll want to put Topple Plus on your characters besides maybe Shulk, who doesn't need it as much. After that, you'll likely want Spike Defense or Debuff Resist depending on the super boss you're fighting. Some of them have nasty counter spike damage, and the hardest has an instant death spike that Debuff Resist will protect you against. And if you want to know how to get any of these gems or how to maximize your gem crafting efficiency, I recommend checking out my guide on that. Outside of that, gem setup doesn't matter all that much. Just make sure you load up on damage maybe if you want to kill things as fast as possible and make your fights easier. As far as your arts, you're obviously going to want to have your topple arts equipped and leveled up as much as you can. Steel Strike, Wild Down, Final Cross, and of course Monado Cyclone are going to be the topple arts we use for this strategy. Also make sure to have break arts on Shulk and Fiora at the very least, and maybe Electric Gutbuster on Dunban. As far as important skill links, at the very least make sure you have the extra chain link chance from Shulk linked to Rein and Dunban, and if using Fiora, never let her be the 3rd slot of your party since she cannot link this skill, and after the 3rd party member you need as much chain link chance as you can possibly get since you don't get the QTE bonus for the 4th attack. Besides that, Glorious Future is great to link on Dunban, and Dunban's Spike Defense is another great skill to have. So let's get into how to actually do this strategy. So the first thing you're going to want to do is make sure your party meter is nearly maxed out. One thing you can do to make this easier is use Ricky at the start of your party and continuously use Happy Happy over and over after engaging combat. If you quickly select Flee afterwards, you can instantly get the arc cooldown back and do it again. From there, you'll want to start a fight with one of the enemies. I'm going to do Blizzard Belgazus first, because he actually has pretty low agility despite his level, and he also has a lot of HP, so it's one of the best enemies for actually showing off how effective this strategy can be. So ideally, towards the start of any of these super bosses, they're going to use an art on you that's going to nearly kill you, so you'll get a vision for it. When this happens, a couple things happen. First of all, you'll be able to change the future, which is going to be able to max out your tension, which is very important. Secondly, if you have Glorious Future on Shulk, he'll get his Monado gauge maxed out no matter what. I also have that link to Dunban, so he gets his gauge maxed out no matter what. And by changing the future once, you should probably get about max tension. From there, you'll have better chain link chance, along with higher crit rate and a bunch of other bonus effects. So what you can do to these enemies is break them with your break art in a chain attack itself. Most of them cannot be broken otherwise. This is going to be your only method to break them so you can actually topple them afterwards. After you've broken an enemy, you'll be able to use all the topple arts you have. What this does is essentially make him toppled for a very long time. Every single topple duration that you add is going to add on to the previous duration. It doesn't reset at a maximum duration. You can just keep adding duration forever. So because of this, you can get a very long topple going. With the Topple Plus gems, you can get 6 seconds per topple usage. And by the time you actually finish the chain attack you were a part of, you'll have a lot of party meter left, and the topple is going to continue to stay on there no matter what. And you're seeing it's going down very slowly. By the time it ticks down to only halfway, we already have our party meter back up again, so we're able to chain attack, and guess what? We can just continue using our topple arts in the chain attack and do it again. You can see my damage is a little bit broken here already, so I am close to killing him just after the Blossom Dance and the last chain attack. But you can kind of see just how effective this method is. One thing about Blizzard Belgazus is that he has a really nasty topple spike, and this means that he's going to do a lot of counter spike damage to you if you hit him while he's toppled, so definitely have spike defense gems on when fighting him. At least one per character, and then at least link Dunban's extra immunity to spike damage to the other characters you're using if you're only using one spike defense gem. Besides that, you can mostly keep yourself healthy with crit healing with that skill from Dunban's skill link too. And it really just is that simple. You break him once in a chain attack, you topple him, and then you just keep using your topple arts. As long as you can continuously get chain links, you'll have no issues whatsoever filling back up your party meter and using everything to the best of your ability. Max tension will add to that 30%, and party affinity being maxed out will add another 30%. Having Shulk and Ryan's chain link chance adds another 20%, and of course hitting the perfect QTE gets another 20% all the way to 100%. So as long as you're good, you can have some pretty much infinite chain attacks. The QTE will get harder to hit the further into the chain attack you get, however. So the next super boss to discuss is Final Marcus, which we've already been fighting. He's kind of a pushover compared to the other ones. He's not going to have the level advantage against you that all the other super bosses do. And as such, that makes him extremely easy by comparison. He does have some spike damage before he actually gets toppled, but after that, he becomes kind of a joke. You can topple lock him if you want to, but you can easily defeat him any other method. Like, I think I nearly kill him right here. I probably would have killed him if it let me continue and use Blossom Dance with Dunban. But otherwise, you can see he's just easy to topple lock, and you should have, like, no real issues whatsoever as long as you have spike defense and are properly leveled and everything. Unlike all the other super bosses, you can actually daze him as well, but that's not really super important to the strategy here. He's a great beginner super boss to just make sure you have your gems set up properly and you're able to topple lock effectively. If you can do it against him, you'll be able to figure out how to do it against basically everyone else as well. There's nothing really that dangerous about him if you're close to his level. If you want to purposely underlevel yourself, you can have a little bit more difficulty with him, but otherwise it's still going to be about the same fight regardless once you get him toppled. And even if his friends join in, they're like a non-issue. If you're looking for an easy way to get the Veritas glyphs for love sources, then this is a pretty effective method just killing Final Marcus. So next up we have Ancient Daedala. Ancient Daedala is a mecha enemy with a very wide vision range. So one of the very easy things you can do is you're always going to get this vision at the start of battle where he's going to use laser on you where you're very far away. A very effective way to instantly hit max tension and change the futures. Make sure you have Glorious Future, and then you'll be able to use Monado Armor right after that to change the amount of damage he does, and that'll hopefully get everyone all the way to max tension at the start of the battle. From there, you should have a pretty easy time getting the party meter you need, and he's not going to be really doing any damage to you at the start since you'll have Monado Armor on. And once you're able to get your party meter, you're able to go into the chain attack. I suggest controlling Shulk here for the easiest results. It is worth noting I don't have any Machina weapons on Dunban and Ryan right now. So topple locking is the only thing I can actually do for this strategy. You can see they're only doing 1 damage before now, but once they're toppled, you can begin effectively topple locking, and even if you are absolutely terrible at this game and miss the chain link like I did there, you'll already get like 12 seconds automatically, and they'll have their topple arts up right after this to continue to add duration to it. And since you're maxed out on tension, you probably will have a pretty easy time getting back to max party meter. So thanks to laser being like a guaranteed vision, you're able to instantly hit max tension like I said, which definitely makes this fight really easy, and if you start out with max party meter already, you can even make it easier. Topple plus gems are super useful for this fight. He has a little bit of spike damage when you first start the battle. Once he gets toppled, he has no spike at all, so you have nothing to worry about once you can actually get him toppled. And if you're actually good at hitting the chain links, then you will be able to just keep him toppled for a pretty long time and instantly build up your party meter during the actual chain attack itself. And one great thing about chain attacks in this game is that you can charge up the chain attack meter once again just by attacking in the chain attack, which is very helpful. And it's one of the reasons you can make this strategy work so effectively. If you have ways to increase your chain attack gains even further than this, then you don't actually need the Topple Plus gems that much, but they do help out nonetheless. And they might actually be required for one of the other super bosses that has half duration, or the other two actually, that have half duration on topples. But even still, you can kind of see how easy this is once you actually get a good setup for it. Pretty much any enemy that isn't like completely immune to break and topple, you can beat with this method. And honestly, you can level yourself down and still do the exact same thing to these enemies once you get to topple them. You cannot miss attacks once you topple an enemy, so the level bonus doesn't really make any difference at that point, and you'll keep being at max tension because you'll be able to change the one vision you saw and have him completely toppled after that. Really, the only difficult part about it being lower level than normal is that you might have some difficulties initially getting him toppled, but once you get to that part, it's no issue whatsoever. So feel free to experiment lowering your level with expert mode and just trying to do the bare minimum for this. Next up, we have Despotic Arson and Satoral Marsh. One thing I will say about him is he's a little harder to topple lock than all the other super bosses so far, because topple duration is actually halved against him. He also has much higher agility than most of the enemies you'll fight, so it can be difficult to always land your break and topple arts, which makes it a little bit more annoying. But luckily, besides that, he's not really nearly as much of a threat anywhere else. He doesn't really do all that much damage. His main gimmick, I would say, is the fact that he does have so much agility. But if you can get past that, you won't have that many issues. But you can see kind of when I get out of this chain attack how the topple depletes much faster than it has been, and that's just because of his reduced topple duration. One cool thing about him is that you can actually break him outside of a chain attack. It's only like a 30% chance, but it is possible. So that is different from all the other super bosses. You don't have to be in a chain attack to break him. Besides that, he'll probably get you some vision sometime. If you're controlling Shulk, you'll be able to easily block those with shield or armor or anything like that. And that'll help you increase your tension a little bit since you'll be missing attacks and all that, I'm sure. I think I have a complete failure of a chain attack against him coming up in a second. Yeah, my break art completely misses there. I think I try to loop back around so I can get Shulk's other break art. I can't remember if that one was successful or not. So Stream Edge was successful this time around, so I'm able to topple him again. But then Dunban misses his topple art. So you can kind of see what's happening here. They both miss their topple art, and that just makes things even more annoying for the fight like this. I definitely recommend having night vision for this fight, just because you definitely need as much accuracy as you possibly can get for this. Make sure to have agility up maxed out. And then once you can effectively get some skills that will allow you to increase your agility as much as possible on skill trees and all that stuff, you should have no future issues with this fight. Just gotta land the attacks you need to, and then you'll be able to topple lock him, and he won't become much of a threat whatsoever. I don't really have much else to say about him, so I'll probably just skip to the end of the fight now. He was kind of annoying to the end when I was recording this, but he's still not really a major issue as far as enemies go. So finally we have Avalanche Odyssey. I started the fight a little into it because it's a little bit longer of a fight than the other ones. So the thing about Odyssey is he also has half topple duration, but you can also hit him much easier than you can Despotic Arson. And I personally like to use Fiora for this fight because she has a little bit higher crit chance and a lot of extra attacks to make sure you can get party meter up to hopefully topple lock him as easily as you can. The thing about Odyssey is he has that instant death spike as already said, so make sure you have debuff resist equipped besides that. Use Ricky's Happy in order to make sure you have party meter before the fight begins. And then you'll likely get a vision very early on that you can change and then instantly jump into your chain attack and hopefully try to start topple locking him from there. I built up a lot of duration at this point, but there's still the fact that it's going to tick down pretty fast since he has half duration here. So definitely make sure you try to get your party meter up as much as you can when you're fighting him. You'll have much less of a headache because he has some pretty annoying attacks and can do quite a bit of damage to you. You can only find him in a blizzard in Three Sage Summit, the same place you find Final Marcus except it's a blizzard weather. And he can definitely be pretty challenging at times. I wanted to do the fight without Shulk just to showcase that you don't necessarily need him, and I also think Ryan, Fiora, and Dunban are really good at topple locking someone because they both have 3 really strong topple arts that aren't really limited by the fact that you have to have your talent art up. So when we don't get like Monato's shield, Monato armor to help us in this fight, we definitely have to rely on topple locking. All in all, this isn't really too bad. He is going to stand up here, I think, right before I can get my party meter back, but we're able to get the party meter back shortly after this. And then we can just begin the process of beginning to topple lock him once again, since we're still at maxed out tension. You can break with Fiora, and then topple with Ryan and Dunban right after that, of course. And I am a big failure once again, and the first chain link proc is a little bit too slow for me sometimes. So I actually ended up failing it there, but that's okay. It actually showcases that even if you do fail, it's not going to be the end of the world. He is going to stand up here, but since I'm able to get a burst affinity proc, I'm almost back to max party member meter again anyway. And since he's targeting Ryan with this move, Ryan's going to be able to survive pretty easily. He gets another vision here, so that's helpful to just give me some extra time. And my party meter is almost maxed out again. So even if you do fail a QTE, it doesn't matter all that much. You'll still be able to, as long as you got maxed out tension, of course, you'll still be able to get back into a chain attack really quickly. And I think from here, I play the fight a little bit better to make sure you can't actually do that kind of stuff again. You're able to use Electric Gutbuster to break. The reason I don't topple with Final Cross immediately after that is because you need to make sure he's already toppled from a different art before you try to use Final Cross, because it's a forced topple art. It doesn't necessarily work off of your break. So it won't actually topple him most of the time if you just use it after a break art. It has to be toppled already, so make sure to keep that in mind. But then you're safe to use Final Cross after he's safely toppled. I guess if there's anything to keep in mind about this fight, it's definitely going to be a longer fight than the other super bosses. He seems to have some pretty good defense. In order to really do a lot of damage to him, you need a really good setup, which I currently do not have myself. Although I guess all those AP up gems don't really help out either. So the thing to note about those AP up gems, if you're wondering how to get them yourself, if you want to grind your own AP, is that Blizzard Vel'Gazis, he drops the AP up gems. I can't remember if I mentioned that earlier. You need 2 per character in order to max out their AP gain, and if you want to actually get the level 12 arch, you're going to absolutely want to take advantage of that. So make sure to fight him a bunch of times if you want to get those crystals. He's a good enemy for practicing topple locking on, so it's not actually all that bad. And the only reason I decided to make this video in the way I did is because I had to fight him so many times to get the AP up gems, and I was like, I could turn this into a learning opportunity. So yeah, besides that, obviously, Ryan, Dunban, Fiora, they all have really good topple arts, and even with the half duration, you're able to usually keep him locked in topple pretty well. Sometimes he will stand up, but you should hopefully have almost all your party meter up besides that afterwards, so you can just lock him into a topple once again. It definitely helps to have all your topple arts to the maximum cooldown, just to make sure you can keep him locked as much as you can. And if you do end up in a situation where he's not toppled, his moves are all very dangerous. He has an AoE Ether art, he has a Talon art that's going to absolutely one-shot you if you don't have an auto shield to block it. All of his moves, all his auto attacks hurt pretty badly. But eventually you might be able to get that chain attack off that makes your life much easier. I think I was able to actually do that here. I get a Sword Drive into a Blossom Dance, which ends up helping most of the rest of his health bar here. If you want to do even more damage, you can also equip Topple Up gems. However, I think Attack Plus and Attack Stability is going to give you a bigger boost in the long run for giving you more weapon damage. So those are usually my choices if I want to increase my damage as much as possible. All in all, though, as long as you can keep him toppled most of the battle, you'll have no real issues with this fight. Keep using your chain attacks at every opportunity just so you get as many topple opportunities as possible. I think I go all in for trying to kill him here. So I don't actually use topple arts at this point, but honestly, it's not that bad. As long as you understand topple locking to some extent, you should have no real issues whatsoever. And that goes for all of these fights. It's a very good strategy to take advantage of if you want to have the easiest time dealing with some of these strong enemies. I don't think I have much else to say, so I really do hope you learned something and will be able to take advantage of this technique in the future. If you enjoyed, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and look forward to my future character guides and other content. Thank you all so much for watching and have a wonderful day.